Now, here's where I'm trying to kind of shift the focus so that I can maybe share with you some of the tricks or some of the tips that I've learned over the years about user experience design. But you guys should try to overlay, and I will do that too as I'm going through these points about how do you create integrated campaigns with an awareness of user experience methods and approaches. Okay? So I'm going to simplify this for you. So as far as audience, who are you speaking to? Now, the 5 bullets there, I think, are good ways for you to check and see if what you're telling them is, are you putting the right message across? So are you trying to persuade someone? Are you trying to inform someone? Are you trying to entertain? Are you trying to influence? Or are you trying to get them to modify their behavior? If you can pare it down to these 5 principles, and as you think through your integrated campaigns, sometimes a campaign is about informing someone about something that they may not know about. Sometimes a campaign is about changing a behavior, right? Think about all the tobacco campaigns. So if you can kind of look at these 5 things as ways to think through your audience message, I think that will be very helpful. And of course, with those 5 things in mind, that will give you a filter of being able to hone in on your message. So what exactly should the message be? If I'm trying to inform someone, the message is going to be very different if I'm trying to modify their behavior. If I'm trying to modify their behavior, you probably want to start out by acknowledging what the status quo is, and then easing them into the alternate view. Okay? What research are you conducting? So ethnography really is a way to, the sociologists used to do that, right? They would understand, they would go live with tribes, they would understand their behavior, they would understand what makes them tick and what the laws are in that particular tribe. But there are applications of ethnography in a lot of what we do. So in campaigns, I think campaigns are an opportunity for you to flex your ethnography muscle, because if you understand what it is that people are doing in their day-to-day life, it gives you a better sense of putting out the right message to try to persuade them or try to change their behavior or inform them. So I'm going to give you an example later on, a case study of ethnography work that was undertaken in the redesign of a site called DIY Network, for those of you who like to do DIY at home. But there are a couple of other things we have in our toolkit, and I'm not going to go into detail for the rest, but secondary research is when you pull up research articles or you go to Google, you use what's already out there. That's the next best thing. If you don't have time to go to talk to an actual user, using secondary research is better than nothing. The next one is surveys. So you can do these quick surveys. Of course, you need to make sure you ask people the right question. If not, your survey's not going to be helpful. But surveys can be quick 8-question surveys. And again, better to have that data than none at all. Now, the last one, focus groups. It's a bone of, lots of user experience people have like bone of contention with focus groups. I think that they're fine so long as you understand why you use them and in what circumstances. So focus groups are great for when you need to gather a lot of feedback in a short amount of time, in a situation where it's well facilitated and well moderated. Because what happens in a focus group is sometimes 1 or 2 people kind of take over, and then it turns out that you walk away from that focus group with those 2 people's opinions kind of overrepresented. So again, like I said, if it's well facilitated, focus groups are a great way to get 15 people in a room in an hour, and you have more data than when you started. So tell me if this looks complicated, but this is work that was actually submitted by Sapient about 1.5 years ago when we put in our work for Forrester. As you guys know, Forrester is they do these biannual reviews of agencies. So this is real work that happened with real readers of the Wall Street Journal, and this is just an example of what it means to articulate that you understand your consumer. So the lady on the left, her name is Cheryl Green, and Cheryl Green represents a very interesting prospect of the Wall Street Journal. Now, the Wall Street Journal was very well known as a business newspaper, but not as kind of arts and entertainment, kind of more broad subject area. So the client's objective was to help people understand that the Wall Street Journal offers you not just information in business, but also information in the arts, even restaurants and wines. So Cheryl gave our designers a way to think about the experience that we're building for her. So Cheryl, I know you can't really see, but see these little boxes? These boxes represent the different tiers in a site. And this tells us that when Cheryl looks for a newspaper article, she doesn't necessarily come to the homepage. She might come in from a news aggregator where she's pulling up, maybe she wants to, maybe there's a hot topic and she just keyed in a particular keyword, and that gives her, it bubbles up a bunch of different articles, not just from Wall Street Journal, but maybe from New York Times. But that's an example of how someone's actually coming into the paper, not from the homepage, but from an article page. So when information architects think about the experience that they're building, they have to think about, how do I get the person here? I don't want them to just come and read one article and leave. I want them to, understand what content Wall Street Journal offers and be able to, maybe help them understand there's more information in these sections that you can, that you can maybe not read today, but maybe come back and read. So that's an example where in the website world, we acknowledge that, if you understand the behavior of your user, you're able to design the site. In the same way, in building integrated campaigns, if you know how your consumers engage with your brand, whether it's, lots of food companies now are putting out food recipe search sites. Like, I think Unilever's doing that. I think Kraft is doing that. There's a reason why, because they know that that's a very effective way to get people engaging with the brand. So if you're going to put out a campaign on a particular food product, potentially, a recipe search could be one way that you do it. Okay, and the person on the right here just has a different news consumption pattern. This person is actually a current subscriber. And because he's a current subscriber, he has his own way of taking in the news. We want to make sure that Jared is able to do that confidently. We also want him to be able to read pieces of news at different points in the day. So if he's having his breakfast and having coffee, he's reading an article, he might want to pick up on the experience when he comes into the office during lunch. So how are we building the experience so that he doesn't have to dig around for it? One way is maybe you can flag an article and save it so that when you're in the office, you can bring it up. Or when you're, traveling to work, you might be able, and you're in a public transportation, you might be able to read it on your mobile device. So those are just examples of how, you have to think about what's important to the user and be able to build an experience around that.